Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Rectified Podcast. My guest today is Roxane Champagne Duval, founder of Alea Protection or Alea Protection in French because we're in Montreal. And welcome to the podcast, Roxane.
Thank you so much, Sandy. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you
Yeah,
for
me
having
too.
me.
Me too. I'm so excited because today we're going to talk about your special product and also your special business model and the impact you're having in our Montreal community and Quebec in general. So let's start with that. First of all, just tell us a little bit more about your brand, what it's all about.
Yes, so Alea is really on a mission to make clean and sustainable period product more accessible to everyone. And how we're doing this, first of all, we have created a line of product that is only made with organic cotton, no synthetic fibers, plastic, or any chemicals. So it's just a cleaner option to use that is healthier for the body and for the
Hmm.
planet, since all our products are made from natural biodegradable ingredient. And the other aspect of the brand is really about accessibility. So we wanted to create kind of a turnkey solutions for organizations, for companies, for school to put in place distribute vending machine in a very easy and cost effective way for their employees and student and customers to have access to these products. Like we believe that having access to period products outside your home should be the new norm. So we're kind of
Yes.
making it easier for companies to
Mm.
put that in place, basically.
All right, that's pretty amazing. So, what made you start with this idea? Like, what made you think I need to start a company? And you got the idea of going to this type of product.
Yeah, so it's my second business. So I've always been, I think, an entrepreneur since I'm very young. I've always wanted to build stuff and create businesses. I always had like so many business ideas, and I was always writing down business plans since I'm very young.
Mm.
So I think it's been in me
Mm-hmm.
forever. I just didn't know I would end up doing period products. But
Yes.
I definitely saw the opportunity once, I became a mom in 2021 during the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic. And I knew I wanted to start a second business. I wanted to start a purposeful business, a business that would have an impact on people, a positive impact on the planet and on the community. And when I
Yeah.
started having my period again after like a year and a half not
Mm.
having them, I started questioning like everything about it. I was like, first of all, what am I putting inside my body? And I realized that it was, filled with chemicals and plastic. And I wanted something just more natural since I just gave birth. So I was very
Yes.
conscious about what I'm
Mm-hmm.
putting inside my body, obviously. I was also tired of the guilt associated with single use plastic. So, throwing away so much plastic during my period with the tampon applicator, with the
Yeah.
conventional period pad that are made up of 90% of plastic usually. So, I wanted just a better option.
Yeah.
And on top of this, I was tired of getting caught off guard when I was going outside my house and not having access to period product when I was either shopping or at work. So,
Yeah.
that's why I came up with the idea of Alea.
Mm-hmm. All right. I can't believe sometimes, every time I talk to people who use these types of products like clean or like you who have created these types of products, I keep thinking like I can't believe they let us put all that plastic in our
And
bodies.
still,
Like yes, like it's
yes,
crazy the amount. I don't know. I mean, no wonder women have a lot of issues, health issues. So yeah, I completely understand. So Roxanne, you talked about having these things available and from that available publicly in sort of vending machines or that kind of stuff. And from that, you went to create a very special business model based on a law that happened
mhm,
here in Canada. I'm so excited to talk about that. So tell us a little
yeah,
bit more about this new law and how you are using the law to
mhm,
basically create your new business model.
yes. So, since December 15 in Canada, there's a new legislation that mandates all federally regulated enterprise, mostly like banks, transportation company, telecommunication, that oblige them to provide free pads and tampons to all their employees, all gender included, in their bathroom. So, of course, we were kind of lucky in the timing. I think luck always plays, a part in an entrepreneur journey.
Yes.
So when we were actually doing our launch, the the law was announced. So it was kind of a perfect timing because all of a sudden, you know, this law is how can I say this? So there's 500,000 employees now because of this law that are impacted by this change. So all of a sudden,
Mm,
it's kind of like a whole new pool of business that have to put in place a solution in their bathroom, but there was just a very few players offering that type of solution. So we kind of were lucky in that way, and now we are working with almost 100 organizations across the country.
yes.
We are now in more than 1,200 corporate bathroom with our Alea corporate dispensers. We're working with banks, financial institutions, transportation companies. So it's a very different business model because at the beginning of Alea, I was like, I just want to change the entire period, experience. But then as I was digging into like my
Mm,
research, I realized that I think these legislation will come up like um, soon. So I
yeah.
should be ready to bring that type of different, offering. And it's
Yeah.
also very smart in a way because it's very hard to compete on retail shelf.
Yeah.
So to go through this type of distribution model, which is completely different from the traditional period care, you know, distribution
Mm,
model, which is usually on pharmacy and in grocery store.
yeah.
Well, working directly with corporation, it's also a really good way to make your brand stand out and to have kind of
Mm-hmm.
like free marketing exposure because now with our 1,200 corporate bathroom dispensers, we have over 25,000 menstruator using our products on a daily basis,
Mm,
which will make it easier for
yeah.
us later
Yeah.
on when we want to go in retail to say like, hey, retailers, like we already have loyal customers that
Mm,
loves our product and our brand.
yes.
So it's going to be easier for me to compete against the big players that owns all market share basically.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty amazing. I remember the first time we talked, like we just had like a casual talk here on, well, on another platform, not the one we're recording on. You said, "Oh, I have, some companies. I made, the contracts, but I can't tell you the name. We'll tell you. I'll tell you later on." And since
Yes.
then, the podcast recording was postponed. But I keep, watching your journey on LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
and on all social media platforms, and I see like very big names there, like very
Yes.
big banks and big corporations, and
Yes.
I really like it. Um, Speaking of, you talked about a large number of people who have, well, who see your brand now in their companies, in,
Yes.
at work, and they know you. So do you plan on taking advantage of that and probably like go to like big stores, I don't know, Pharmaprix, Avril, whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
that you want to do?
Yeah, we've been approached by a lot of retailers already. So we are
Mm-hmm.
planning a big launch in one of the major retailer in the next few months, which is very
Okay.
exciting.
Yeah.
However, we still want to really focus on, corporate because we believe
Yeah.
it's a great distribution model for us,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a great way to get the brand out there. And we also are selling online on aleaprotection.com. So people can also
Okay.
buy our products once they have
Yeah.
tried it in an office. They can go and convert online as well to continue their
Mm-hmm.
beautiful period experience.
Yes.
And I haven't touched the fact that also I come from the L'Oreal world. So
Okay.
I started my career in the Luxe department at L'Oreal. And for me, giving a really exciting period experience was like super important because, we're in our period for like more than 36 years of our lives. And I do believe that we deserve a better period experience. Like
Yeah.
all the big brands that we know, like they all have like pink, yellow, blue packaging, and it's like we're super shy when we
Yes.
walk down the aisle with the box under our arms and we're like, don't look at me. No,
Yes.
like I want people to be proud of like,
Mm-hmm.
having
Yeah.
your period means you're healthy. So you should
Yeah.
not be ashamed of that, first of all. And also, I want them to be excited when they go and get their packaging. Like if they
Yeah.
receive it by mail, I want them to open the order like they're opening a Sephora order. You
Yeah.
understand? This
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the
Yeah. The
same vibe.
experience. Yeah.
It's the same experience that I want to give to all the menstruator using Alea period
Mm.
products.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And even your packaging and everything, I see that it's not like pink or purple. It's like very sleek, modern, like simple. How did you come up with it? Did you do it by yourself or did you hire like somebody to help you with it?
So I had the vision in my mind. Like I knew I wanted really minimalistic colors.
Mm,
My previous business was a Scandinavian brand, so I have a lot of that
yeah. Yeah.
vision in my, as my background story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I knew what I wanted, but of course I had to work with the graphic designer. I worked with a couple of graphic designers and agencies to support me with building the entire branding book,
Mm-hmm.
building the packaging visuals, and being
Yeah.
ready to launch online. You can't do it by yourself. So, as an
No.
entrepreneur, this is a trap. Like, if you think you can do everything by yourself, you will not be fast enough to go to market. And that's not a good thing. You need to
Mm, mm.
do what you're really good at and delegate what you are not as good at. And
Yeah.
I'm not a
Yeah.
technical person.
No, no,
So,
no. I totally agree with you. However, I do see a lot of, new people who want to start new brands. Sometimes they just maybe are afraid of spending from their own money or like getting some funding,
mhm.
or maybe they don't even have that amount of money, so they're just trying things themselves. But as you said, it takes them longer to get to where they want to be, as opposed to doing things the correct way. I mean, sort of the correct way. There's always like different iterations, like you keep doing and
Of
doing and
course,
doing.
like my first like packaging is not going to be the same that will be on the retail shelf. Like
Yeah.
you definitely need to launch with your MVP. Like for
Yeah.
example, we decided to launch with white paper wrappers. Well, first of all, because it really has a clean look, but also on an investment standpoint, I was like, I need to prove that my business model works because
Yeah.
you need to buy enormous quantities in period products. Like it's an industry that you need to, it's hard
Yeah.
to penetrate because you need to really take a big risk on inventory before
Mm,
knowing if your business is going to work or not, right? So me, I've decided to say, okay, like let's test it out first before investing in the packaging of the wrappers.
mm,
And also because I wanted to know if the brand was sticky, if the look was something people loved before
yeah.
investing in like personalized packaging. And I
Yeah.
realized that yes, people actually really love the brand and really love, the packaging and everything. So our personalized wrappers are coming out
Mm,
in the next weeks in May. So I'm super excited about that. But like, of course, you cannot launch and be like, this is perfect. Everything is
yeah.
done like to the point. Like you need to sometimes cut in costs.
Yeah.
And even though it's not perfect, like having your MVP and making sure that it's working is really important to
Mm,
limit
yeah.
your risk, of course.
Mm. Especially on products that are relatively cheap, let's say, like it's not $1,000 product, so you keep, putting fixed costs on it. It's something that's like not very expensive. Well, 'cause it depends
For
on,
the end consumers,
yes, exactly.
yes.
So you
Mhm.
you have to also study your costs, whether you want to personalize things or keep, all of those details. But as you go through,
As
like you
cost
said,
effective
yeah,
as
yeah,
possible,
exactly,
yes.
exactly. So at the beginning, how did you fund this? Was it like your like personal funds, or did you, because you have other experiences creating businesses and all of that, so you must have done something differently?
Of course, I was lucky enough to sell my first business
Mm.
a couple of years before, so I had like money aside to fund my second business. So I think I was lucky on that end.
Yeah.
And yes, I did took a small loan with like Futurepreneur, which is
Yeah.
a very easy loan to obtain, by the way. Like every
Mhm.
entrepreneur out there should be like applying for this loan if you are
Yeah.
planning on building a business in Montreal at least.
Mhm.
Um, and then love money, like you need to work your network to make sure that you can like have enough money to start the business from scratch. So
Yeah.
of course, for me, it's an inventory based business. So I had to raise a significant amount of money to start the business. But
Mm.
again, I was lucky enough to put a lot of from my own
Yeah.
investment as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to link to Futurepreneur because there's multiple people who talked about it. I think it's not just in Montreal. The other people were, I believe, in Toronto or something. I believe they're in all Canada, but I will definitely
Yes.
link to them. Maybe somebody's listening and they can, benefit from that. And
Yeah.
they have a lot of trainings and things like that, I believe, workshops, things like
Workshop, they
that.
give you a mentor like
Yeah, yeah.
that you can work with for like 2 years. So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely a good way to get started. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And in terms of marketing, you come from L'Oréal, which is the place to be for marketers, people who love marketing. And then you created your company and now this is your second company. How did you go about this? Now, the idea of having them in bathrooms and people see them, it's almost like free marketing. That's great. But do you do other stuff?
Yeah. So I of course you need to invest in your social media. That's not the biggest strategy that I've been focusing on. I didn't invest much in social media at the moment. I think it's definitely
Mm-hmm.
our next big thing because we've been focused on, just like getting new customers, like getting the money in, securing the revenue. And
Yeah.
it's also a recurring business model. So like for me, it was very important to do the sales first and of course like start with
Yeah.
marketing a little bit more now that some people see our dispensers and now they're interested, they're going on our social media page and on our website, there's a lot of traffic coming from our dispensers. So this is the moment where I actually need to invest a little bit more. But honestly, just like designing a brand that people feel like, actually people were telling me like I can't wait to get on my period, and this by
That's
itself, like
amazing. Yeah.
it's and so I need to have these people kind of being
Mhm.
brand ambassador for the brand. I want these people to be loud on social media because this is basically how it made them feel. And this is the exact feeling I wanted to create with Alea. Like people see the packaging, they see the brand, they see the product, and they're like, I can't wait to be on my period. So I'm at the
Mhm.
stage where I need to get those testimonials and revert them back to my social media, revert them back to my website,
Yeah.
and try to get the word out there. So
Mhm.
that's kind of my next step in my marketing
Yeah.
strategy. Um, but I also think that also running some PR campaign can always be beneficial, and just you as a founder being on podcasts, telling your story. It's all about
Yeah.
storytelling. People want to know who you are.
Exactly.
People want to know who's building the brand. And I'm trying as much as possible to be out there to make conferences and talk about my story because
Mm.
it's also part of our mission to educate people about period products. Like why they should change to a safer and healthier and more sustainable option. So it's also part of my mission to communicate all this information. And I
Yeah.
think the best way to do it is by being out there and talk about it like I'm doing it with
Mm.
you today. And
Mm.
hopefully the listeners will be like, hey, I've never looked at my ingredient behind my
Yes.
period
Yes.
products. Because every time I have these discussion, I'm like, have you ever looked like under a Tampax box? Like what are these products made of? And people, when you
Yeah.
read it once, you can't go back. You're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not putting this in my body anymore. So it's all about the education.
That's true. That's true. I really love this. There are certain circles where people are more aware of, whether it's food, whether it's the products they use. But there's still a lot of education to be done on all levels. And I really love the idea that you talk about these, you try to be out there as much as possible, because that's a struggle like I deal with, convincing people like you're the founder, you should go and you should talk about yourself and your story, and that's how people will love you and buy from you, because you're facing giants. You in with Alea, you're facing giants that have been there for years. Their brand names have become so generic that people call the product by the brand name, things like that.
Yeah.
And then you have to go and convince people, no, look, this is not good for you, for your health. You should, buy something else that's more good for you. So,
Yeah. And the fact that this is the only options that we know, we just think it's safe
mm,
and it's good for us because we
yeah.
don't know anything else.
Mm. But I
But now
really,
studies are starting to show that it's not necessarily the best thing for you.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Honestly, me personally, I found all of these things I discovered, whether it's skincare, whether it's period care, whether it's everything. Around 6 years ago, I made this switch, but it was very difficult for me to find. I used to go online and try to buy, from I don't know where, this brand that has organic cotton products and things like that. And now I'm really happy that there are more and more brands that are easily available, and that I can just like go on your website and get what I want, and it's
And
right here.
and and even like you just said it, like brands with organic cotton, but there's a few brands out there that market themselves as
Yeah.
having organic cotton, but when you look at the ingredient, it's mixed
Yes.
still with viscose, so synthetic
Yeah.
fibers treated with chemicals to look like cotton, mixed with maybe non-organic cotton. It's just that
Mm.
they have used a certain amount of organic cotton. So you
Yes.
just also need to be careful with greenwashing. It's kind of
Yeah.
out there in the
Yeah.
industry because even though it's protected by Health Canada, you need to be Health Canada certified for tampons because it is a
Hmm.
medical device.
Yeah.
There's still a lack in regulation, in my opinion, in terms of like,
Yeah.
transparency from the
Yes.
brands.
Yes. There are a lot of things, even with skincare. There are words you can say natural, and then it's not really natural, but it's not regulated. So the same thing applies to period care products. That's pretty interesting. I have a very curious question. Um,
Mhm.
who is your first client? Like the very first sale that you made?
It was actually okay, so it's a HR consulting firm. And I had two first customers that I remember clearly. My consulting firm that actually I was a client, so they
Okay.
kind of had to buy it, but I remember me testing my pitch for the first time. And I was like, okay, so here's my concept. Like, I want to sell you period products for your employees because I believe it's important to have access to a tampon or a pad if you start your period unexpectedly at work. What do you think? And she's like,
Yeah.
well, I think it's a very normal thing. I think it's a great idea. I'm like, but would you pay that amount for a dispenser? And would you pay an amount like that
Yeah.
amount
Yeah.
for this type of product? Like, I was so unsure and not confident enough. I even offered her like an additional $50 credit for her next order. And she was like,
Yeah.
you should not be doing this. Like, you will
Yeah.
not do a lot of like profit with this approach. But I was so insecure.
Mm,
But as I did calls and even cold calls and started like talking about my business idea, because it was not something ever like people
no.
were exposed to, it didn't
Yeah.
exist. So
Yeah.
so I had to understand if this was something that people related to and that if they would buy it. But as
Mm-hmm.
I went and as I asked all my question, I realized that my business model made sense and that people were actually like, pourquoi j'ai jamais pensé à ça? Like, why did I never
Yeah.
like thought about this before? And I'm
Yeah.
like, exactly. So I think you build confidence as you pitch your business and gather feedback from,
Mm,
potential customers or customers, and you tweak because at the beginning I had a $100 dispenser and I had a lot of pushback. So I dropped the price, worked with my manufacturer here located in Quebec. They do all my dispensers. And I tried to find a way to basically bring the cost down of the dispenser. So we made it smaller, 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 and smaller. to
Yeah.
realize that it was kind of like the ultimate perfect fit because it was perfect for like shelves, it was perfect for a cabinet,
Yeah.
and it was also perfect to stick on the wall. So I basically brought the price down to like $35, and now I start realizing that it was the perfect price point for a bathroom
Mm,
dispenser. So I
yeah.
think that the more you test the market, the more you ask questions, the better you get at, pitching your business idea.
Yes, yes, obviously. And we've all done this. We've all like for our first customers, we're like, oh, maybe I will lower the price for you.
Yes.
When you whether it's a product or a service, we've all done this. Like, please buy from me because
Yeah.
it's the first. But
Yeah.
yeah, I understand. One last question before we go to the last round. I always do a round of three questions at the end to close
Okay.
the episode. But one last question before that. Did you have any like failed attempts or money wasted or efforts wasted since the time you started this business until today?
I think the biggest thing is time wasted because at the beginning I wanted to do everything by myself. You're like I told
Mm,
you earlier,
mm,
I tried to
mm.
do the website by myself. Like worst idea. I lost like
Yeah.
2 months and a half. Like I should have been focused on developing my network and starting pitching my business idea instead
Mm.
of assuming I was a programmer, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think time wasted based on I don't want to spend that money, but sometimes you just need to spend that money because it's even worse if you end up spending the money and wasting time at the beginning.
Yeah. Totally agree. I love this one. All right. So now we're going to move to the last three questions to wrap this episode up. Um, First of all, how would your friends describe what you do for a living?
They call me tampon queen.
I like this.
um, no, but I think my friends and family, they have a lot of respect for what I do because I think
Yeah.
I'm definitely um, building a business based on real needs.
Yeah.
So everyone is very aligned with what I'm doing, and now they understand why I'm doing it. The why
Mm,
behind it is very important, and my
yeah.
why is very well defined.
Yeah. Agree. Question number two. What is one thing that your product did for a client that you didn't expect? Like something nice.
Well, I got a lot of testimonial telling me like you really changed my period experience. Now I feel good about having my period, and
Mm,
that for me is the best
yeah.
thing I can receive in my DMs, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's nice. That's really amazing. All right, question number three. Is there a book or a podcast that changed your life that you would recommend to our audience?
Well, there's the book Start with Why of
Yeah. Yeah,
Simon Sinek is very good.
yeah.
I think that every business like person, entrepreneur should always start with the why they're
Mm,
doing it.
yeah.
And the other podcast, and another podcast that I really recommend for all entrepreneur is How I Built This. Like amazing stories about entrepreneurs' journey. I think that you can learn a lot from it.
Yeah. I should check it out. I don't know this one.
Oh my
All
God, yes,
right.
you need to.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. All right. Thank you, Roxanne, for being a guest on my podcast. And to all the listeners, I'll be back next week with a new episode.